Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. And I am trying to get through. Let me get a respectable view here. There we go. Babe, I'm going live while I do some planning. Okay? Okay. I'm live now. Um, Hi everyone. So I'm not sure if you can actually hear me. So let me just ask folks. I'm just gonna see if I can be heard. So it looks like I'm not. Yeah, that would be great, actually. Thanks. Just gonna go to my settings and see. It doesn't look like you can hear me at all. Oh, you can hear me? Okay, great. Cool. Yeah, I'm good. You can. So, hi everyone. Hi Z Love Books. Nice to see you. It's been a minute. Um, so I have decided to go live today. It is a long weekend, and my mood isn't the greatest at the moment in life, but I haven't planned in a while, and I thought it would be nice to answer any questions that folks might have about my reading or to chat a little bit about reading while I plan a little bit in my planner since it is the 1st of September. So, if you have any questions or if you want to chat about what you have been reading, I would love to hear from you. So, yeah, thanks for your question. So, Zila Books, I have been reading Black Heart Man from written by Nalo Hopkinson. I'll just get my copy of it. Well, this isn't actually the copy that I'm reading, but I'm reading Black Heart Man by Nalo Hopkinson, and I'll read you the synopsis. So, Vakosi, in training as a chantwell, a historian and musician, hopes to sail off to examine the rare Alamat Book of Light and thus secure a spot for himself on Chinchin's colloquium of fellows. However, unexpected events prevent that from happening. 15 Yemison galleons arrive in the harbor to force a trade agreement in Chinchin. Vakosi tries to help, hoping to prove himself with a bold move, but is quickly in way over his head. Bad turns to worse when malign forces start stirring. Pickens, or children, are disappearing, and an ancient invading army, long frozen into pitch statues by island witches, is stirring to life, led by the fearsome demon known as the Black Heart Man. Vakosi has problems in his polyamorous personal life, too. How much trouble can a poor student take or cause all by himself, as the line between myth and history blends in this delightfully sly tale by one of science fiction and fantasy's greatest novelists? So that is Blackheart Man. And I think, I want to say I'm on page around 230, I want to say. And I'm really I'm loving Blackheart Man. I really enjoy Nalo Hopkinson's writing. I'm enjoying the multiple points of view. Um, I'm enjoying like how easily she's able to um, just kind of get us to understand that there are lots of different ways that people love each other. There are lots of different um, ways to form family relationships. There are lots of different ways to um, form like community relationships. And I love how she is weaving the mythology, the politics, how she's complicating colonization stories in her world building. And I think that's really cool. So I'm enjoying it. I'm actually buddy reading this with Takesha from the Blurred Library. We're reading it together, and it's our first time buddy reading together, so it's kind of cool hearing her thoughts about the book and sort of figuring out how we want to create content around buddy reading together. So it's been a minute since I've buddy read anything with anyone. So it's been really sweet doing that. So that is how I have enjoyed the reading. What are you reading right now? And I'm also interested in any questions you might have about um, planning or how you do your own planning, whether it's for just your work, your life, your reading. I found it a bit overwhelming to have multiple planners, and a lot has been going on in my world. So I have simplified my planning a little bit, but I'm definitely missing the ability of being able to go to one book for one thing. So, like my dream journal, my dreams are in one journal, and my reading journal has all the stuff about my reading, and my day planner has all my scheduling stuff. So, I'm just trying to think about how I want to do it better and more efficiently. So, how do you plan Z Love books, and what are you reading? You just started Long After We Are Gone by Tara Shelton Harris. Let me look that up. And how far are you into the book, and how is it going? So, Long After We Are Gone by Tara Shelton Harris. So, Southern fiction or domestic fiction. I've never heard of domestic fiction as a genre. Interesting. An explosive and emotional story of four siblings, each fighting their own personal battle, who return home in the wake of their father's death in order to save their family's home from being sold out from under them, from the author of One Summer in Savannah. So, huh, how's it going? Do you like how did you find out about the book, and how are you liking it? So I know there's somebody else who is watching. Hi. If you are able to, I would love to hear what you're reading right now. You can type that into the chat, how you feel about what you're reading. And I'm also happy to answer any questions about my own reading. Yeah, just 1 second. Parents just called. Okay. You literally started this morning. You were familiar with the author's debut novel. So far, so good. Pretty early yet. How many pages are you in? And what kind of books what genres do you tend to read? I do remember that you were reading speculative fiction, science fiction, and fantasy, but this was a few years ago, I think. Were you did, you came to Quarantine Pages? I think that's where we may have connected, but I don't recall. So hi for those of you who are watching. If you're able to, 30 pages in. Okay. So it's pretty new. In the first 30 pages, like usually right away, the first 30 pages of a book is mostly about the world building and getting you, caught up in the setting a little bit and introducing you to maybe the beginning of some of the tension. So what do you look for in the first 30 pages of a book? And are you somebody who DNFs? So for those of you who are watching, I am just chilling. Why don't you pop into the chat, say hi, let me know what you are reading, how you're feeling about what you're reading, and I'm also happy to answer any questions that you might have about what I am reading as well. Hi, Purposeful Pursuits. How are you? Thank you very much for watching and for writing in the chat. You missed the Quarantine Pages Book Sprints. It was so fun. Oh, well, I am really happy to hear that you enjoyed them. Um, I'll admit that from time to time, I'm kind of like, oh, it would be really cool to just like do a week of them or something. And then it goes where all the ideas go to sort of not to die, but just to sort of live. It was a lot. It was a lot of work. And I think, when we think about it, um, it was just such a great experience, like just to see what we are capable of doing, to be honest. So, yeah, it was a really wonderful time. Purposeful Pursuits. What are you reading these days, and how are you liking what you're reading? And do you have any questions for me about what I'm reading while I plan? So, right now in my planner, what I'm doing, this is my regular everyday planner. I'm updating it. I have I've started to learn the original Bujo method. It's not as aesthetic or anything like that. And if you're watching, throw up a like. That would be great. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I would appreciate it. Um, yeah, I started to do the traditional Bujo method, and I'm actually enjoying it. Um, I find that it is very easy to do. I was worried about it not being easy, but it has been very easy for me, and I'm liking that a lot. And for the first time, at least what I can remember, um, I'm actually going back in my journals and just kind of reading them and thinking about some of the themes that are in them. So that's been pretty cool. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually in June in my planner, just updating my index. And it's cool to see like three weeks ago or 3 months ago, I was really preoccupied about this particular thing, and then it moved on to that particular thing. And it's also really interesting because sometimes things that are going on in my life seem so big, and then a few months later, I don't even remember what it was that I was so worried about or anxious about. So it's kind of interesting. And I think the bullet journal method is pretty helpful. Okay, so purposeful pursuits. Um, you say, I'm curious what you do when you feel like you're not reading anything that really speaks to you or pulls you in. I've read good books this year, but only a few that really felt good to me. I would love to hear like, if you want to put in the chat, remind, well, if you'd like me to know your real name, that's fine. I'll call you Purposeful Pursuits for now. But I'd love to hear what you really, really liked and what you didn't like. Um, when I'm Bridget, oh, hi, Bridget. Um, when I'm reading something that doesn't really pull me in, I tend not to DNF. Um, I try to think about, I try to use those books as a bit of a compass. So I do ask myself questions like, why isn't this book pulling me in? What is it about the book that um, I am not enjoying? What is it about the book that is not keeping me engaged? What would I like to see better? What do I want the next book to be like? So if the book is too slow and I realize that I want something that's a faster pace, then I just make a mental note. The next book I'm going to read is a fast pace. If the book um, is too cerebral, then I'm like, okay, the next book, I just want it to be a little bit more fun, a little bit um, less complex, intellectually complex. Or if I read something that's a little bit too fluffy or the characters aren't deep enough, then I'll make sure that the next book that I read has deeper characters. If I'm reading something that seems like it's written for an age group that I'm not really interested in, then I'll make sure that the next book that I read will be from a different age group. So sometimes um, I don't actually remember the book I read before this one, um, but I have it in my planner, so I will find it. Um, but I think I have a list of books I read in here. But I knew that I was going to read this one next. Let me see, books I read this year. But it was very different from Blackheart Man, I want to say. Mm, I have my list of movies I want to watch. Happy to share that with you if you're interested. Um, oh, okay. So prior to Blackheart Man, I was actually listening to the Black Stars collection of novellas on Amazon. So I think there were novellas from Nnedi Okorafor, Nalo Hopkinson, Nisi Shaw, um, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, I think her name is. And then there are a couple of Victor Laval. So I don't think I finished. I think there's one more that I need to listen to, but maybe not. But I listened to all of those, and they were short, pithy, interesting, really, immersive. I liked most of them, but I knew that after, such short works, I wanted something longer. So Blackheart Man, which is what I'm reading right now, Blackheart Man by Nalo Hopkinson, my favorite author, favorite writer. I knew that I wanted that. So that's one of the things that I do when I feel like I'm not reading anything that really speaks to me or pulls me in. Sometimes what I'll do is, and maybe this is sometimes I can be insecure about my reading, to be honest. So sometimes I might ask questions like, what did other people like about this book? Have I missed something? Um, do I like do I need to reread it? So sometimes I'll do that. I have put books down. I don't DNF. I PID, put it down. So sometimes I put the books down and then I just make a note of when I want to read it again. Um, Typically at this time of the year when it's summering to fall, I start getting sort of October spooky vibes, and so I have a list of um, books that I am really interested in reading during this spooky time of the year. So I will be doing that. So what do you do when you have read something and you're not feeling it? Are you a DNF person or not? Okay, so let's see what else you've said. Um, right now, Bridget, you are reading a few books of fiction and nonfiction. You're reading Legendborn and nonfiction. Where are you? Single on Purpose. Okay. So what are you thinking? What did you think about Legendborn? I know that I think Bloodmarked is the second one. I loved Legendborn. I really, really did. Um, so I'm interested in your thoughts about it. Are you enjoying it? And if so, what are you enjoying about it? I actually cried during Legendborn, which is slightly unusual for me. I don't typically cry in books, but um yeah, it was good. It was a very good book from my perspective, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Well, I think all three are out now, I want to say. So for those of you who are watching, please say hi in the chat. Let me know what you're reading. I'm happy to answer any questions about my reading. Um, and I'm planning right now. I'm trying to update my index in my bullet journal. So that is what I am doing. Okay. Your question. C loves books. What's your name again? Can you read multiple books at once? Oh, you're asking Bridget. You give yourself multiple options when you're not engaged. Oh, that's cool. I do that sometimes too. Sometimes I buy or collect novellas so that I can read something really, really short if I want to change up the energy a little bit before going back. I'm glad it sticks with you, so that's cool. Cool, cool. All right. Rachel, hi. It is so nice to see you. Thank you for joining the live. Lovely to see your beautiful face. Um, what are you reading? And how are you? What are you reading? What's up in the spooky world? I haven't been watching a ton of YouTube lately, so I'm not sure if you have been active on your channel, but would love to just hear about you and your reading. Um, I was actually thinking about you this morning because the bracelets that you got me from BookNet Fest are in my little like accessory pouch, and I saw them today. Yeah, hello. Um, so you're the same way. You struggle with DNFing, but you put books down. Yeah, yeah, it's really that's good. That's good to do. Zara, okay. You expected Legendborn Bridget to grab you more. You're starting to get into it. You found it really slow with a lot of complicated magic. Yeah, now you've gotten the hang of it. I think there's something about magic secret societies that, unless they're really the writer is super amazing at world building, it can be really hard to get into things like really quickly. So I'm glad that it is starting to pick up for you. I'm happy to hear that. All right, who else is here? Looks like there are about seven of you here. So if you are interested in asking me any questions while I do my journaling updates, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, or you may obviously ask them of each other. And does anybody bullet journal? And how are you finding that? All right. Coming Home by Brittany Griner. It was good and super vulnerable. I have seen that on the shelves, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It's got a really compelling cover. It's her, I really like the picture of Britney's face, the portrait on the cover. It's really cool. Um, what an incredible experience she had, and then to see her play, um, it's been it's been really cool. Tommy has been watching a lot of basketball. I joke about watching basketball since I was a child, which is a big lie. I have not been a sports person. I remember, Rachel, that you are. I'm not sure if you're an athlete, but I remember you really really interested in sport, I think. Um, and I've been watching a lot of the WNBA, and I love the beauty of the game. There have been basketball, like female basketball players in my life, um, and so I have memories of really enjoying the game. But I've been really enjoying the politics of the game and the economics of the game, and then of course the beauty of the game. I find it very creative and beautiful. So it's cool, and I really like the way she plays. Um, Good. Mention bullet journaling. Do you bullet journal only about reading, about anything on your heart? So I um I bullet journal about everything. Um I learned to bullet journal fairly recently, and by learning to bullet journal, I mean going back to, I don't know the guy's name, but going back to his original videos, not the aesthetic bullet journaling with the stickers and the colors and all of that. I found that when I got into that, I became pretty overwhelmed by all of the, like, keeping up, the beauty of the journal, and I was losing focus and becoming so perfectionist and overwhelmed that I just didn't do any I just didn't do it. I just didn't use it. And then I stopped when life got challenging. So I actually use it to answer your question, Bridget. I use the bullet journal for pretty much everything right now. And then what I will do is I will have pages in my bullet journal um, that are collections. So they're not. scheduling pages or planning pages, but they are just where I put down my thoughts, and then I can migrate those collections to another journal. So, for example, I have some creative projects that I'm working on. So, in my bullet journal, I might dedicate a page to those projects so that I don't worry about having to go to another book. But if I want to spend more time on those projects and I want all of that information in one book, then I will copy out my notes from my bullet journal and put them in the other book. And then I'll make a note in my bullet journal that like these notes are continued in that journal. So I only started in I think May around my birthday, so we'll see how that works for me. But I do like just having one book and not having to switch from book to book. And the only I've been using the Melanin Eclectic Reading Journal, which I have right here. She's got a digital version, so I use this. And I think her last physical one was undated. So I've been using this for a couple of years now. And I start anywhere just to make it make it fun. And I love Brittany's work, so that's where I keep my major reading notes, but just like a list of what I've read all year, I have it here and in my reading journal. I hope that answers your question. Happy to answer any other questions you might have about that. One thing I like about the bullet journaling model is that I find it very forgiving. So if I forget or I skip, or even if I make mistakes, I just scratch them out. I use different colored pens. Like I'm just a lot more free with myself than I used to be, which is nice. So if anybody else bullet journals, I'd love to know what you do and what you like about it. Any more questions? So Rachel Ray used the Happy Planner for managing all of life. I love the size of the big Happy Planner. It's really cool. Really, really cool. It's so nice to see Ziara and Bridget just pouring love in the content that you created. So that's awesome. Um, Question. So now that you have finished, did you say that you finished, Rachel, the memoir? What are you, even if you haven't finished it, what are you thinking of reading next? The classic vertical hourly. Yes, love that. Love that. I have one of them at work. I just love how big the pages are. Okay. What books are coming out that you guys are interested in? I'd love to hear that. Fall apart. Cool, cool. Are there any themes to what you're reading right now? Why do you pick up classics and new things, or is it whatever catches your eye? I seem to remember you having um, a very free um, like attitude around what you read. What's the Davenport series? Um, what am I interested in reading? I've got a bunch. So there's a book called Kin that I'm interested in. I just picked it up from the store. Um, what else? I think there's one called The Last Dreamwalker, which I gave to a friend, but really want to read that. Um, there's a bunch of horror that I'm interested in. I might do a video on spooky reads. In fact, I think I'm going to. But those include Jordan Peele's Out There Something, um, Tender Beasts by LaSalle Sambury, Reformatory by Tananarive Due. Um, there's also Eden Royce's new The Creeping of Something Something. So those are a couple of the spooky books I'm interested in. I love Eden Royce's stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. There's a bunch of gothic horror. I think Alexis, the one who did, oh, I can see the cover. Does anybody remember that one? I think it was Alexis something. It was her debut novel, and it was very witchy, woody, gothic. Um, but she wrote another one, so I'm interested in that too. Okay, thanks for that, Bridget. So, The Davenport by Crystal Marquis follows a Black family in 1910 as they navigate wealth, racism, and relationships. Oh, cool. Nice. Cool. Um, I am going to be doing a haul at some point, but if you're interested in seeing some of the books I recently picked up, I'd be happy to just like do a really quick show you. If you're interested, just let me know in the comments. Okay, I can definitely do a haul, a very quick haul. Let me just finish this section of indexing. That's one thing about bullet journaling. If you don't keep up with indexing, so indexing is when um, so you're supposed to keep an index or a table of contents in the beginning of your bullet journal. And if you don't keep that up, um, you can get a little bit lost. The idea of the index is to make it easier for you to find things in your journal when you're going back in time. Um, so it's like a table of contents. So if I knew that in 2024 I went to Barbados, which I did, and I want to read about that time, then I know that I can do that on these pages in the book, and I really like that. I don't think that you don't need to have a bullet journal in order to do this, but I have thought about going back to my old journals and creating tables of contents for them so that I can, kind of read through what was happening in my life at the time. I've got boxes and boxes of old journals. Okay, let me show you some of the books I've purchased recently. I'll show you just the top. So I have a few here. Okay, so this is one I was telling you about. It's called Kin by Efwa Prince. Kin is a story and a celebration of Black womanhood, of resistance, of perseverance, while simultaneously an indictment of American history. Kin is a tree alive in places, broken in others, that offers shelter for women seeking respite in the midst of family making. This tree depicts family grafted together by blood, law, or choice. Its stories are voiced through blues infused poetry, one act plays, oral history, and reportage that are combined to form an orchestra of Black history and rememory. Centered on the labor of women, the movement of women through lives and time, and the work of building associations that make up the home, this book takes up the rhythms and multifarious forms of its inspiration. Cain, the 1923 novel by Jean or Jean Toomer, the roots from which it all grows are the ancestors who ensure from the spirit realm that the family remains grounded and verdant, despite the manifold threats to its health and well being. Kin is a tribute to forebearers, a beacon to those calling homes into being, and a strata of stories for children not yet born. So I think I found out about this one on Instagram. It's written by the Efwa Prince, who's a prof of African American Studies at Wayne State University and specializes in themes of home, women, and housework. Served as a W.E.B. Du Bois Fellow at Harvard University, a visiting scholar at Carter Woodson Institute, University of Virginia, and Avalon Professor of Humanities at Hampton University. Her first book, Burning Down the House, Home in African American Literature, was recognized by academia as a university press bestseller. It's got poetry. It looks like it has um, short stories. And I don't remember. There was something speculative about it. I don't remember what exactly it was. Maybe it's this idea of transgenerational lineage, but yeah, I love the idea of practically, it says on the bottom, practically true stories. So that's one. This one I got yesterday, and it was suggested to me by the bookstore like staff person at Another Story Books. It's called The Fallen Fruit, a novel by Chantel Madison. On a rainy day in May 1964, history professor Cecily, I think, Cecily Bridge Davis begins to search for the 65 acres of land she inherited from her father's family. The quest leads her to uncover a dark secret. In every generation, one offspring from each Bridge family unit vanishes and is mysteriously whisked back in time. Rules have been established that must be followed to prevent dire consequences. Never interfere with past events. Always carry your free Negro papers. Search for the survival family packs in the orchard and surrounding forest. Do not speak to strangers. With only a family Bible and a map marked with the locations of mysterious containers to aid her, Cecily heads to the library, hoping to discover the truth of how this curse began and how it might be ended. As she moves through time, she encounters a circle of ancestors who will change Cecily's life. It is a race through time and against the clock to find the answers that will free her family forever. Chantel Madison's historical fiction debut is an enthralling, page turning family saga about the inevitability of fate, the invincibility of love, and the indelible bonds of family. So that's The Fallen Fruit. If you're interested in any of them, just put the title in the chat. I'd be interested in hearing from you. Very interested in this one. Survival is a Promise. The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde by Alexis Pauline Gumbs. And I've read a bit of Alexis Pauline Gumbs' work, and I think it's quite powerful. We remember Audre Lorde as an iconic writer and a quotable teacher whose words and face grace t-shirts, nonprofit annual reports, and campus diversity center walls. But even those who are inspired by Lorde's teachings on the creative power of difference may be missing something fundamental about her life and work and what they can mean for us today. Lorde's understanding of survival was not simply about getting through to the other side of oppression or being resilient in the face of cancer. It was about the total stakes of what it means to be in relationship with a planet in transformation. The focus on Lorde's quotable essays to the neglect of her complex poems has obscured her deep engagement with the natural world and the planetary dynamics of geology, meteorology, and biology. Lorde's ecological imagery is not merely metaphorical, but rather a literal guide to being of Earth, on Earth, to survival, to living the ethics that a Black feminist lesbian warrior poetics demands. In Survival is a Promise, Alexis Pauline Gumbs, the first researcher to explore the full depths of Lorde's manuscript archives, illuminates the eternal life of Lorde. Lorde's life and work become more than sound bites, they become a cosmic force, teaching us the grand contingency of life together on Earth. So that's Survival is a Promise. It looks like it's 600 pages. It's about 450. And um, she talks about a lot here, and I'm looking forward to it. I find that Alexis Pauline Gumbs writes in such an um, interesting poetic way, and I think that she actually voiced the audiobook, and she's got a stunning voice. Her cadence is amazing. So yes, this is the Creeping of Dogwood House by Eden Royce. Um, Middle grade, obviously. At night, Roddy still dreams of sitting on his mother's feet while she braids his afro down. But that's a memory from before his mom died, before he was taken in by an aunt he barely knows, before he came to Dogwood House. It was his family's home for over 100 years. Now the house, abandoned and rotting, draped in Spanish moss that reminds him too much of hair, is his home too. Aunt Angie has returned to South Carolina to reconnect with their family's hoodoo roots. Roddy, however, can't help but feel lost. His mom never told him anything about hoodoo or Dogwood House. And as he and his aunt set about fixing the house up, Roddy discovers that there's even more his mother never said, like why she left home when she was 17, or why she insisted Aunt Angie always wear her hair in locks, or what she knew of the strange secrets hidden deep within Dogwood House, secrets that have awoken again and are reaching out to Roddy. Eden Royce, the award-winning author of Root Magic, which I read and which is amazing, returns with a terrifying story in the Southern Gothic tradition inspired by the hoodoo practice of hair burning. I'm actually buddy reading this with a colleague. Um, Octavia E. Butler, The Last Interview. So there's a bunch of interviews with her, including the last one she ever did before she passed away. Midnight Rooms. My throat is hurting, so I'm not going to read it more, but Midnight Rooms by Danya Coles. Moko Magic, Carnival Chaos by Tracy Batiste. I think this one involves children who are interacting with like mythical creatures from Trinidadian folklore, and it may involve carnival, but I'm not sure. And then A Crown So Cursed because enjoyed I enjoy Alice in Wonderland and I enjoyed this retelling. So what's probably going to happen though is that I'm going to have to listen to the whole thing again. I kind of remember what happened, but I also kind of don't. So we shall see. Yeah, the fallen fruit does definitely have kindred vibes. I was surprised actually, Rachel, not to see, a reference to like in the tradition of Octavia Butler's Kindred, but here we are. So the books that I've read so far in 2024 are No Gods, No Monsters, We Are the Crisis. And those were by, um, I forgot the author's name, I'm sorry. Um, Writing Speculative Fiction, I started reading that by Eugene Bacon. Womb City by Sloflo Samaze. Loving Safia by Liza Wemacor, really nice novella. River Muma. Good night, Rachel. Nice to see you. Um, oh, sorry. Bye, Bridget. Nice to see you. Um, God is a Black Woman, which was a really nice one, actually, by Christina Cleveland. Chain Gang All Stars, which right now is my favorite book of the year. And then Negotiating While Black by Damali Peterman. So those are really good. Oops. Okay. Bye, Rachel. Thanks for watching. All right, everyone. I think we're winding down a little bit. You're interested in Survival is a Promise? Yeah. Awesome. Middle grade is one of your favorite genres. You may run out and grab A Crown So Cursed. Yeah, let me know what you think. Have you read the first two books? Okay. All right, everyone. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes, and then I myself will be heading to bed because it is getting late. So if you're here and not in the chat, please feel free to show yourself. I'm gonna be on for about 5 more minutes and then I am off. Hello, if you are new in the chat, I'll be around for 4 more minutes. I'd love to hear what you are reading. Happy to answer any questions about what I'm reading. I'm also updating my planner. I'll be signing off in about a minute and a half. I want to thank you for joining. Those of you who are watching, take good care. Thank you for coming. Nice to see you. It's always nice. I always wonder if people are still interested in the channel, so it's really affirming to have you here. All right. It has been about an hour, and I was able to get through indexing about 40 pages of my journal, which is more than I've done in a really long time. So, thank you very much for hanging out with me. Okay, everyone, remember to read with purpose. Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next time.